Welcome, Mindsetters, to grade 12 Maths Lit. Today, I'm here with John, who will be taking us for the lesson. John, tell us what's happening.
Great to be with you. Hi, guys. I'm John. It's good to be with you this evening. I don't normally do Maths Lit, but I'm excited to be here and to take Peter's place because we've got a little challenge. We want to try and find Peter this evening.
Exactly. So, guys, I hope you guys are tuned in for this one. You guys have your pens, your pads out. And, guys, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're experimenting with some new stuff. You know, so it's always a bit of fun. So, guys, we're going to see you after this break. Well, actually,
no, we're not going to go to a break.
No,
we're going to go straight into it. Guys, I want to show you the challenge question. We're going to be dealing today with the topic of maps and grids and compasses. So it's all about map work. And when we deal with map work, well, Peter's not here. And I know that you're going to miss him, so this is your challenge question. And I want you to get in touch with Ty and I'm going to give you some hints about trying to find where Peter is tonight. So have you got a guess? The hint here is distance and direction are important. And you can also give a grid reference. So Peter's somewhere. Where do you think it is? I'm sure you've played the game Hot and Cold. So throw out some ideas. I'm going to give you a clue as well because I've taken a little snapshot. Now, I'm not going to leave it on for too long, but just to say to you, somewhere over here is where Peter is. I don't know exactly where. So maybe you'd like to start with some clues. Ty, what do you think?
I think that's a plan.
Give us a starting point. And let's start to play, hot or cold. Give us an idea.
Let me think. I'm going to say France, Paris.
Well, right hemisphere, wrong location. Okay, so we know he's in the northern hemisphere. Guys, let's try and find out where Peter is. But while you're thinking about that, get onto Twitter, get onto Facebook, get your answers in. Try and see where you think Peter is. Narrow it down. And maybe we'll get some clues along the way as well. Here's another clue. Hey, look at this. Courtesy of Google, we've got a satellite view. He's over here, where that A is. Think if you can get it. Let's go on to some theory now. We're dealing with maps and compasses and grids and all that good sort of stuff. So what I want to let you know is there's something else. On the Facebook page, I've loaded a link for you to go to a PDF. All the notes that you're going to see, and even if we don't get all the questions, they're on that PDF. So go and download it. It's there. Press on the link, and you'll be able to save it. It's in black and white, so there's no black background or anything like that. You can print it. Good exam revision. So in those notes, you'll see, what's a map? We've had a look at a few maps. Google Earth, we're going to be playing with this evening, has maps, and they all have scale. They represent on a flat piece of paper or on a screen what is happening in reality. Now, the details are amazing when we look at them because we can get a satellite picture. We can see where we're at. We're going to go and have a look at that just now. So what we need to recognize, and I'm sure you've done this in earlier grades, remember that a map is important. It's divided into grids and sections. It's also got a scale. We're going to be working with some of those things. So let's just revise some quick concepts that you'll need to remember from earlier grades, from grade 11 and grade 10. So the first thing I want to say to you, just let's go over direction. How can we specify direction? What are the ways of indicating direction? And I'm sure you'll remember the good old compass points. So if we just have a note there, compass directions. And we've got a graphic that shows that. The important ones. N standing for north. And then in between north and east being the prime, and the next primary one, south and west. I remember those in order because they spell the word news. Okay? N-E-W-S. So you won't get confused about getting your left hand and right hand mixed up. You'll know that it's N-E-W-S. S. So you've got to get it right in terms of the compass points. Make sure you've got the understanding of where they are. N and S, north and south opposite each other. W and E spells we, and altogether they spell news. Okay, now what about the points in between? Well, I'm sure you'll remember that between north and east is the I'm just being reminded that there's another anagram or thing to remember. Never eat silkworms. Okay, that gives it to you in a better way, in the right order. Never eat silkworms. I'm sure that was Peter's one. I'll have to see if we can pull in something just now to remind us about Peter. So remember, between north and east, we get northeast. Between east and south, we get southeast. Between south and west, we get southwest. Between west and north, we get northwest. Now, obviously, you can divide them into smaller bits as well. You can divide them smaller than that, but that becomes quite tricky. We don't really do that very often. We normally convert them to bearings, and we use protractors to measure, and we can get into that a little later, because I don't think we really need to worry about that. It's just to revise ourselves that we've divided the earth into those points. Now, let's go on, and let's mention the next thing. Apart from direction, every map is divided into a grid. It's a way of us being able to see where things are, to identify a location. So in some map books, you get A's and you get letters on the one side and numbers on the other. You divide them into blocks. So you can be able to use a block, and you can say A3, identify the block. We'll do a problem with that just now. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much more detail around that. I want to get on to the next one. The big topic, whenever we're dealing with maps and grids and scale, is the issue of scale. And guys, I know that the examiners, guys like Peter, what they do is they try and be shafty about scale. They always put a scale question in any exam on this section of map work, because they know that lots of learners battle with ratio and proportion. And scale is just simply that. It's about converting between a ratio of two numbers. Now, the two things that you need to remember is the first one, and we're going to use this, is that you get two types of scale. You get the line or linear scale, which is this example that's shown over here. So you get on the piece of paper a measurement. So we know that distance is exactly representing 100 kilometers. Whereas you can also represent scale as a ratio, as a fraction. This tells us 1 in 4 million. Okay? So that tells us 1 unit of measurement on the map is 4 million units on the ground. That's the comparison. The smaller unit is what's on the map. This is on the map, and this is on the ground. Now, I hope you've picked up that what I said there, the units are the same. So if I measure this in meters, then I must measure the ground in meters. So be aware. Keep your units the same. You can convert them later to get them into more measurable units. Okay, let's just do one little example, because this is really revision and it's really quite easy. We often have to convert and measure things in scale. We either take a measurement on the map and then ask how far that is on the ground, or we say how far something is on the ground, and we have to work out how short it is, what the distance is on the map. So here is a little example, and it gives you some steps of how to do it. So on this particular example, it tells us the following. The distance on a map measures 5 centimeters, and the scale of the map is 1 to 2 million. 1 to 2 million. And they ask us, what is the actual distance in kilometers? Very important. We've measured the unit in centimeters, and we're asked to find the answer in kilometers. So what do we do? How do we do it? Here are the steps. Let's go through them. This is in the notes, so I've left them there so that you can make sure that you've got them sorted as well. So the first thing you do is write down the scale. We've got it. 1 to 2 million. Really big scale. We're looking at that there's a small amount of distance on the map represents a big thing. This is like a global picture, like the shot I showed you just now. Now, then the next thing was we write down the measurement. Notice we're getting a ratio. And we're saying we know that on the map, back on the question, it measured 5 centimeters. So what we don't know is what this is going to be. But bear in mind that this must be in centimeters. We know it has to be the same unit. Now, what are we going to do? What I did to get from 1 to 5, what did I do? If I compare those two ratios, 1 to 5, I multiplied by 5. I hope you can see that. That if you go from 1 to 5, you've done it by multiplying by 5. That's why we say to get the answer here, we must take this one and multiply by 5 as well. Okay, so second step, multiply by 5. And if we've multiplied this number by 5, you're going to get to 10 million centimeters. Now, how are we doing there? You got it? 10 million centimeters. Do we go and measure 10 million centimeters? Think about it. How big is that? That's not just the length of my arm. That's a huge distance. We want to convert that, because the question asked us to convert it into kilometers. So how are we going to convert from centimeters into kilometers? We need to make sure that we do that and recognize this by saying that 5 centimeters convert to kilometers. And we say, well, let's convert both of them to kilometers. And we're going to do that by converting to kilometers. What's the factor? What's the ratio? Well, we know, for example, that let's take out what 1 kilometer is, just to work out this. So we know that 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. Do you agree? 1 kilometer, 1,000 meters. Make sense, Ty?
That makes sense to me.
Okay. So now if we know that 1 meter is how many centimeters?
1 meter is a
100 centimeters. So we now want to get to centimeters. So what are we going to do to the meters? We must multiply by 100. So if we're going to say this, which is equal to 1,000 times 100. And if we've done that, then you can see that 1 kilometer is going to be 100,000. Okay? So what have I done to get from kilometers to centimeters? I've multiplied by 100, I multiplied by 1,000. That means if I'm going to go back the other way, I must divide by 100,000. So count, this is the trick that I learned. I get confused with numbers, particularly these big numbers. So what I learned is to count the zeros. So I'm going to just count the zeros over there, and I want to change from centimeters to kilometers. Notice there are no zeros here. There are no zeros there. So what am I going to do? I want to knock off how many zeros? 1. Oh, let's not move it around. Let's knock off the zeros. 1, 2, 3. That's divide by 1,000. So I'm going to take my answer here, divide by 1,000. Knock off 3 zeros. How many zeros have I got left on this side? I've only got 2. Let's knock off another 2 zeros. 2 zeros. What am I left with? 1, 0, 0. There's your 100 kilometers. Got it?
I got it.
Hope you got it. How are we doing? Have we got any guesses there?
We've got a couple. Still very cold. They've got that general idea of it's Europe.
Okay, Europe. Europe is good. Yeah.
But then we've got a couple like England, London. I'm just like,
okay. Well, we'll get there. We'll give you a little more clue. But let's do one more example. Just quickly, another scale example and see how we go here. So here's the other way around. Instead of dealing with giving you the distance on the map, They give you the distance on the ground and then ask you how far is that on a map with a particular scale. So notice what they say here in the question. We go with this one. It says the actual distance measures 12 kilometers. So we're dealing with 12. How many centimeters would it be on a map with a scale of 1 to 50,000? So 12 kilometers, and we're dealing with a scale of 1 to 50,000. Well, do the same steps. Write down the scale first, 1 to 50,000. Then put down the given information. We know we've got 12 kilometers. And we now need to convert that to centimeters. So we've done that calculation previously. Instead of dividing by 100,000 now, we're going to multiply by 100,000. That means that we're going to get 5 zeros in there. See? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got it sorted out. I've converted it to centimeters. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, how did I get from 50,000? How did I get from 50,000 to 1,200,000? How did I do it? Well, if I do that calculation, I take 1,200,000 centimeters and divide by 50,000, it gives me 24. That's the factor that I've multiplied by, that's the factor I've multiplied by. So if I multiplied by 24 on this side, I must multiply 1 by 24 on that side. So the distance on the map is 24 centimeters. Hope you got that. Okay, let's go to another clue. Guess where Peter is? We've had some answers. A bit hot and cold.
Yeah,
okay, not too. At least we're not getting South America.
We had Australia earlier.
Oh, we had Australia. Well, anyway. Well, guys, here's a clue. There's the map. And what we've got is an A. So I don't know if that helps you, but there's another one. There's the satellite photo. I think it's time after the break just to have a look and see if we can zoom in on Google and see where Peter is.
Exactly. I don't know about you, but I'm keen to find out where Peter is because I've been also trying to guess as in like where because I haven't even been told. But guys, I'm keen to find out after this break. So guys, we'll see you soon. Welcome back, Mindsetters, to another exciting lesson at Learn Extra Live. Guys, I'm having fun. Make sure you're having fun with me on the page, www.facebook.com/learnextra. Hit us up on the page. Join in on the fun. I'm trying to find out where Peter is, so I'm actually going to head back straight to John because I'm dying to find out.
Thanks, Ty. Well, you know what? Peter always has a joke or two.
Yes.
And seeing we're trying to find Peter, I thought we'd perhaps just have a little joke about Peter, and we've just had Easter. And I know there's a tradition in some people's households where people hide eggs and then they go and look for them. Well, Peter has a lot of fun at Easter time because you know what? He goes and hides the eggs and then he spends the rest of the day looking for them. Anyway, don't tell him that one. Okay, guys, where is Peter? Give us your clues. But you know what? I think it's time just to pull in some high-tech equipment here. We really want to try and find out where Peter is, but we want to get some grid directions. We want to know how far away he is. We want to describe where we are and where he is. And one of the great tools that we can use is Google. And Google's got a whole lot of tools. And I want to just go to Google over here. By the way, there's something else that's up on the screen right now, and that is all the live sessions are being posted to YouTube. So check us out, Mindset channel on YouTube. That's also because we're linked to Google. So get it there. If you've missed a show, go and download it, go and watch it, go and get involved, see what's happening, make sure you don't miss out. Or you can even do a search on the channel and pick up the show that you're really battling with, and it will work for you. Right, we want to get to to Google Maps. Okay, so this is really quite cool because there's the map of the world. And I can move it around and I can see some ideas here. There's something that I want you to notice, that, and maybe you can't really see it over here, so I'm going to move this way, just to point out, at the bottom over here is a scale. It's a line scale. And I can take a ruler and I can measure how far things are. If that doesn't happen, then that distance, which is approximately 6 centimeters on my ruler, measures, if I read it correctly, 2,000 kilometers. Okay, so 6 centimeters on this ruler represents 2,000 kilometers on the map, on the screen. Now, remember what I said to you. We're trying to find where Peter is, and we want to get an approximation of how far away he is and also the direction he's in. Now, generally, we get the idea that he might be in Europe somewhere. And I'll give you that. He's in Europe, okay? What he's doing in Europe, we'll come to a little later, because shouldn't he be back at school? Well, no, he is working. He's on a school tour. But we'll have a look at that. How far is it? Well, Europe from South Africa. Can we get a guess? What do you think we should do?
Probably measure it out on the board, and then it'll give us a good idea.
Okay, so we measured the scale from the linear scale, 6 centimeters, 2,000 kilometers. So I'm going to just choose a random thing here, and I'm going to say somewhere over there, and I'm getting about 18, okay? So 18 centimeters, that's 3 times 6. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
3 times 6, 3 times 2, because that was 2,000. 3 times 2,000, 6,000. Yeah. About 6,000 kilometers. Yeah, okay. So we think he might be about 6,000 kilometers away. We'll see how accurate the scale is just now. Remember that it might not always be that accurate, but we're just doing a rough calculation because we don't know the exact position where Peter is. I suppose to get his exact position, what we would need to know, and the distance between where we are and where he is, let's find out where we are.
Exactly.
Do you think that's a good idea?
Okay.
Well, let's put the ruler down and let's just say, well, we're going to be in South Africa, and let's, instead of being so zoomed out, let's just zoom in, and hopefully we can find something.
Yes, keep moving up in that corner, and there we go. That's Madagascar, so we need to go a little bit that
we're
way.
a bit further. Okay, good. Are we getting there? Yeah, we're going to get right in. So, guys, this is one of the Google features. It's showing you the satellite view with the map overlaid, and we can change the view just now. We'll have a look at that. But what's really interesting, and that's the point that I'm going to get to in a minute, is that as I'm zooming in and I'm starting to see some stuff that's far away, Empangeni, no, we don't want to be there. We want to get
a bit more up.
Get a bit up. There's Freyate. We'll come back to that just now. We've got a question on there a little later. Ermelo, no, we're getting there. We're going west. We're getting across South Africa. There we're coming to Gauteng. And there's Johannesburg. Now, for those of you that don't quite know where we are, where we're broadcasting from, we're broadcasting from Randburg. Now, Randburg is up in this area of the map, sort of on the outside, on the northwest side of Johannesburg. Okay, so let's see if we can find ourselves and zoom in a little bit more. It'll take a few seconds, but not too long. But there's something really interesting that while the computer's thinking about it, and we'll get there. There we're getting there. Ty, what I want you to see is what's happened in the bottom corner. And it's a real pity. Well, I think I've got a way of doing it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my smartboard, and I'm going to take a camera shot, and let's see if we can take the camera, pick the camera, and just take that as a camera shot, and we'll take it back into Smart. And there we go. Now, I don't know if that's big enough. I'm not going to, you can't really see it. I've taken it off the screen. I'd have to make it bigger, pull it bigger, but then it won't be in scale anymore. So I was hoping that we'd be able to see, but let's just do it manually. Where's my ruler? Here we go. Remember the last time? 6 centimeters. How far?
That was 2,000 kilometers.
2,000 kilometers. Right, now over here, we've got this measurement now. We've got 9 centimeters, and guess what? 9 centimeters is only 2 Ks. Okay, so because we've zoomed in, see what's happened to the scale. The same distance, roughly, or almost, is much less.
Yeah.
It's much less on the ground. Okay, so let's just zoom in a little bit more because we want to get exactly where we're at. And hopefully we'll get there. Maybe we've gone too far. Okay, it's taking some time, but we're almost there. I just need to identify where we are because I might not even know where I am at this point. So I'm looking for a landmark. There we go. Let's zoom out one. Rand Airport. That's Germiston. There we go. We're on the east side of Johannesburg. Now I'm picking up the N3 and trying to move it around. I'm going to go straight across town. And hopefully we're going to get into Randburg pretty soon. But you can see it's really fun to play with maps and to find where you're at. And there's some really cool features and other programs, applications that can tell us a lot about learning about places and where we're at. But we're going to get there. It's just taking a little bit longer than I thought. So we're almost at Sandton, William Nicol, and there's Jan Smuts. Now we're close to Jan Smuts. So Hurlingham.
And there's Randburg.
There's Randburg. There we go. Now, because I've done it earlier, and I know where we are, kind of, I'm going to put a point on here and say to you, I know that we are on the corner of Dover and Pretoria. So that's where we are. Okay, that point over there is where we're at. And we want to find out what that point is so we can measure the distance from where we're at and the direction to where Peter is. And so hopefully you can see that playing with maps is a really enjoyable activity and is something that's got some useful tips. So if you can get onto Google Maps, it'll help you understand this whole section of map work because you'll be able to calculate distances, and there's some cool applications, you can even get them on your phone, that will help you find your position, give you your coordinates, and we're going to have a look at those just a little later. Okay, Ty, how are we doing with those guesses?
We're getting some that are pretty warm, some that are spot on, but I can't really say yet.
Oh, no, don't say just yet. So we're getting in the right area. Yeah.
We'll give it a bit more time.
A little bit more time. Okay. In the meantime, let's just go back to a question. Other than looking at Peter's question, I want to just have a look at a question that was in a previous exam, which was about maps. Okay, and so I'm going to go to this side of the board, and we're just going to see that don't be frightened of maps. The questions that they ask you aren't that intimidating at all. So here's the question. It says, study this map of northern KwaZulu-Natal and parts of Swaziland and Mozambique. So let's see if we can get it on the screen. Okay, and what you'll notice is there's Swaziland. It's all nicely labeled. There's KwaZulu-Natal, there's Mozambique, and there's, let's just put in some marking. KwaZulu-Natal, Swaziland, the international boundary is over there. How do we know that? Because there's the key over here that tells us the difference between a normal border and an international border. A border between provinces and the one between countries. So there's the international borders. We also notice that the key tells us about where rivers are, where roads are, where primary and highways are, towns are illustrated, and then the really cool thing, which I hope you can see on this one, because we were battling a little bit with Google, was because the position of it more than the fact that it's there, but if you've got it on a screen in front of you, you'll be able to use it really nicely, is that they give us two forms of the scale. On this particular question, they've given us two forms. They've given us a value for the scale as a fraction, and the value is 1 in 2,500,000. Now, I know that this was taken from a printed note that was originally half of A4. So this scale at the moment isn't going to work because I've had to expand it to fit onto the screen. So this scale we can't use, unfortunately. If you print the PDF and you do it double-sided, the answer will work out. But when we originally designed the question, we designed it to be on an A5. So what we're going to have to depend on, which is a really useful illustration, is we're going to have to depend on the linear scale, because even though we've changed the size of the map, as we change the size of the map, we've changed the length of the linear scale. And although it's a little bit clumsy, because you've got to do some measurement with a ruler, and you've got to do some approximation sometimes, and you need to measure accurately, avoid the error of parallax, read directly over the ruler. All of those things are important. But there's our map. Now, what about some questions? Let's just do one or two. We'll go back to the map and see what we've got. The first question here says, in which grid block? Now remember I said maps are divided into grid blocks. There are letters on one side and there are numbers on the other. Which grid block do we find Nongoma? Okay? Let's go back to the map and let's see. Well, the grid block, where are we? Now, you've got to look carefully on the map, and you've perhaps got to know a little bit about northern Natal. But if you look and you hopefully find it, I'm sure people are crying out and saying, I can see it, I know where it is, I know where it is. And it's in this block here, because there it is. Okay? There's the town. Okay? Tiny little town, way north, traditional town, rural town. People out in Ngoma are watching us. Hi, send us a tweet or send us a comment on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, I know somebody that used to live there, but that was a long time ago. I've actually put the wrong underlining. There's Ngoma, but it's in the same block. Okay, so how are we going to reference that? We're going to reference the block by putting the letter first, which is C. So you can see A, B, C, and then we're going to use the number. So what does that come to? Well, this block is in C3. There we go, and we've got it. Is that okay?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay, so let's go to another question. We'll refer to the map. I'll just put it down. In which direction are you traveling if you're going from Mzini in Swaziland to Ermelo? Okay, let's go back to the map. Now we'll do a double jump, and not too difficult one, because we've underlined quite a few things here, but let's highlight Mzini and Ermelo. So if I'm not sure of the direction, this one is really easy, because we just have to give direction here in terms of compass points. And I hope you can see, even if you use a ruler here, they're more or less in a straight line between the two. I could even pick up a straight line and join them. And you can see it's more or less flat, and it's going from this side, from left to right. And we know the top of a map is taken as north. The bottom of the map is taken as south. So that means that there's east, never eat silkworms. And so which direction from Manzini to Ermelo? Well, we're going to go to the west. Ride west into the sunset. Well, we're not quite finished yet.
Yes.
We're not quite finished yet, but I think we're time for a break. Give you a time to think about where Peter might be.
I'm dying here. I'm literally trying to figure it out as well. I'm just like, okay. Working through the maps. But guys, again, keep guessing, keep posting on the page. I'm seeing a lot of close guesses, but not quite. So guys, see you after this break. Welcome back, Mindsetters. I am literally on the edge of my feet trying to figure out where Peter is. I'm just having fun with this lesson. I'm also learning a lot about maps and all this stuff. So guys, make sure, join us on the page, guess where Peter is, and I'm actually going to hand over to John, who's going to continue with the lesson.
Thanks, Ty. Guys, I'm going to give you another clue. We're going to try and zoom in on this section over here. Okay? Now, I think you can see he's not in the UK. He's not in England or Scotland or Ireland or Wales. But we're going to try and zoom in, but we'll go to Google Maps to try and do that. So let's just zoom out here, or in fact, I tell you what, let's just type in something and let's see if we can get a guess. Give us one of the guesses, please, Ty, that's on the site.
Was Rotterdam.
Rotterdam.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see if we can get Rotterdam. And let's see if we can find Peter in Rotterdam.
That's with one R.
Oh, yes. We don't want two R's in Rotterdam. I don't think it will help us. But let's delete that. Push back. No, it's gone back. Okay. Hopefully we'll get to the map. Taking a bit of time. That was my careless counting. You know what? Let's do it this way. Rotterdam. Well, we're on the map here. We're not on the satellite picture, but I hope you can see that Google is really useful because it gives you the sense of where you're at and helps you to be able to navigate. Again, the scale is in the bottom corner. What I want to show you is that we can now change it to the satellite because I like the satellite photo. I'm sorry, but this isn't working. It's just clicked over because I was on the wrong thing. So let's click onto the satellite and pick up on satellite, and hopefully it'll change in a second. There it is. And we want to zoom in now on this section here. And we're almost there. We want to get closer to that coast, to where the A was. And I think that what you can start to see is that Rotterdam isn't too far off. Okay? Now, Rotterdam is sitting over there, and what we're recognizing, let's see if we can find it. It's just getting into focus now. I want to see if I can find Rotterdam. It's higher up. But unfortunately, you know what? It's not quite Rotterdam where Peter is. He's in this area. He's somewhere in this country, but he's not at Rotterdam. Okay? Rotterdam, I've just lost it for a minute, but Rotterdam's in this area here. Peter is somewhere over here. Okay? It's closer to an airport. They wear wooden shoes in this country. So
Clogs.
we were in the right clogs. That's right, eh? We were in the right country, but we're not in Rotterdam.
Because we've got another one which is close as well, which is Antwerp.
Antwerp. Now, you see, there's Rotterdam, and that's not where he is. But Antwerp, let's just see something here. If I am able to, Antwerp, where did I see Antwerp? Can you see it?
Down there, right under Bervin.
Utrecht?
Yes.
Antwerp.
Antwerpen, there it is. A little bit further down.
Down. No, we're going too far away. We're getting cold.
Yeah.
We're getting cold. So we're not in Rotterdam, but what I wanted to show you, a nice cool feature, if I just hold that down, and I'm just checking whether this works now on this side, is that you can get the grid coordinates, the actual coordinates, through Google Maps. If you do it on a computer, it comes up really well. You can actually set it on your settings. What I'm going to give you the clue here is if we have a what's here question, you can actually get the coordinates from there. But what I'm going to tell you, from Rotterdam, that's where Rotterdam is, and if we have a look at Rotterdam, there you go. It gives you the coordinates. It tells you that it's 51 degrees north, 54 minutes, and 13,01 seconds, plus the plus there means east, 4 degrees east, 41 minutes and 47 seconds, 47,96 seconds. So there's some real numbers, some maths literacy coordinates that are coming up. Now, from where that A is. Now, that's not where Peter is. I'm going to tell you that Peter is north of there. And it's a place where there's a song about tulips, where tulips come from. Maybe that will help you. It's an old song, so I don't know if you'll know it even.
I'm trying to think of it.
But we'll get there. Let's get back to Ngoma, far away from the Netherlands. But another interesting question about direction that we're going to come to. So we've got the grid, we've got the direction, and let's look at the next one. Also asking about direction. Now remember I said to you, Peter's somewhere north of Rotterdam. This question says, what direction would you be traveling if you went from Vryheid to Piet Retief? Vryheid and Piet Retief on our map. Let's go and see where they are. And I've written all over this map, but I want to keep the writing. So let's see. There's Piet Retief, and there's Vryheid. And you can see that they're more or less one in a straight line, a vertical line drawn between those two. Now, what are we going to say about that? Remember, the question said, where were we traveling from? From Vryheid. We were traveling from Vryheid to Piet Retief. Now, don't get confused. Make sure you understand which one is which. We're traveling from the Vryheid to Piet Retief. Now, I need to check it myself because I kind of forgotten. So let's make sure that we've got it right. Vryheid is down in the south, so if I'm going from Vryheid to Piet Retief, then I'm going from the south to the north. And it's very important that you get that very clear in your head, that you don't mix them around. You don't say, well, he's traveling from he's traveling south, because you think that Vryheid is where he's traveling to. No, he's traveling, and it's a common mistake that some learners make, he's traveling from Vryheid, starting at Vryheid, and he's ending at Piet Retief. So bear that in mind. Where is he starting? Where is he ending? He's traveling north. Okay, I think there's time for one more question before we go and find where Peter is. So let's have a look at our next part of this question, and it's a really interesting one. It says to us to estimate the distance. Now, estimate. Good skill. sometimes we haven't got time to do all the calculations to be really accurate. We just want an estimate, okay? Estimate the distance by road from Ermelo to Manzini. Now, remember we asked about the direction from Ermelo to Manzini. Now it's done two things. It said estimate and it said by road. Now, let's go and have a look at our map so that we can get that right. Remember, there's Ermelo, there's Manzini. Now, it doesn't matter whether you measure from Ermelo to Manzini or Manzini to Ermelo, same distance. Okay? How are we going to do it? Well, if we were asked to estimate, we could do a number of things. We could take our ruler. We know the scale over here is given the line scale. And I'm going to measure it, and I'm going to ask Ty to help me with this. This 100 kilometers measures 27 centimeters. So we've got to set up a ratio here that's going to help us work this estimate out. So let's get it. We've got 27 centimeters that we're going to need to do. And we've measured that as 100 kilometers. So let's go on and pick it up. Ooh, we're having a little issue here. Okay. I'm not really sure, Ty. How are we doing with those guesses? North of Amsterdam.
Yes, we've got a couple. Someone's saying, some are pretty close. I just got one which is just a general out there. I wanted it was just like Europe, and we're like,
oh no,
yes,
no,
we covered Europe.
But we said north of Rotterdam. Did I give it away?
I think so, to some degree. Some are getting it right, some are getting it, but we can't really say yet.
Okay, we can't say it. Well, listen, you know what? This screen has just collapsed on me. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe I pushed something on the button, but you know what? Just to see if we can sort this out, because I really want to zoom in on where Peter is and to get an approximation of the distance that he's away from us. So let's just go to a quick break and see if we can sort it out and get the really accurate readings up on the board. So we'll be back in a few seconds. Guys, welcome back. Good to be with you. Now, we've had a few technical issues in terms of answering that question about the distance, estimating the distance between Manzini and Ermelo. But let me just go through quickly how you would do it. So if you were given a map, and I'm going to have to do it on the Google map and use a totally different region, and what we're going to do is we're going to say we guessed Rotterdam was where Peter is. Well, he's not. He's north of Rotterdam. He's on the outskirts of Amsterdam. So it was quite close to Rotterdam. He's on a school hockey tour. They love playing hockey. The Netherlands is so flat that even if you roll a ball anywhere down the street, it'll just carry on going forever, or almost. But let's try and estimate how far off we were using this scale. So if I measure here, and I'm going to get 9 centimeters, Ty, is 10 kilometers. So 9 centimeters is 10 kilometers, and my point over there was there, and if I measure it right now, it's gone and jumped. No, it's still the same. 9 centimeters, 10 kilometers, and I get 40 centimeters. So that was roughly, very rough. We've got a relationship there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So 40 centimeters on the scale, on that scale, from Rotterdam was 40 centimeters on the map. Okay, 9 into 40. 9 into 40 goes roughly 4 times.
Yeah.
4 times. Just almost 4.5 times. So 4.5 times 10 kilometers. What's that going to give us?
450. 45.
45. Okay? 45.
My math skills are so shaky.
Yeah. so 45 kilometers. So we weren't too far out. Those people that were saying Rotterdam, no, Peter's about 45 kilometers away from Rotterdam. Now, what I really wanted to get the idea is how far is he away from Randburg? Because we want to get that point and highlight those two. But we're having a few technical issues, so we're not going to get that. But here's a challenge for you, and it's something that I hope that we're going to be able to take up next week. How about you trying to work out, use Google Maps, find the coordinates, search to find the distance and the bearing between where we are in Randburg to a point in Amsterdam. I will give you a rough estimate. It's almost the bearing is close to. It's between about 340 and 350. That's the rough bearing, and the estimate of distance is going to be between 8,500 and 9,500. Okay, that's with it. See if you can get it. Post the thing on the page, and let's see if we can sort it out. Now, guys, if I had to do an estimate of distance, you've seen how I've done it roughly, and that was just from one point to the other. But if I was going by road, I'm sure you know this, and you had to do it more accurately. You take a piece of string or piece of wire that's flexible, and you can then put it down on the road and then measure the road against the scale. So if you've got this distance on a piece of wool or piece of string or wire that's followed the road, use that on the scale and then find out how far it is. Ty, have we got any questions, any comments?
So far, everyone has just been joining in, saying that we've been enjoying trying to find Peter, trying to figure out where he is. I've gotten so many different answers. Some people have gotten really, really, really close. And some actually got pretty spot on.
In Amsterdam.
Yeah, in Amsterdam. In Amsterdam.
He's dancing in the tulips, you see?
Yes.
The tulips from Amsterdam. That's
Exactly.
where it was. Okay, guys, it's been great being with you. Next week, I hope that Peter gets back. That's if his plane doesn't fall apart. He doesn't forget his luggage behind either. Ty, it's been great being with you today too.
Definitely had a lot of fun, John. And guys, you know the drill. Make sure you always come onto the page, you chat. As I said, this is a place for you guys to build up notes, for you guys to refer to throughout the year, so you guys can keep chatting to each other. If you're lost anywhere, if you have any issues, make sure you go to the page. Chat, www.facebook.com/learnextra. You know the drill, guys. Talk to each other. Mindsetters. It was fun. Peace.